Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello, and welcome to this episode. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I am back with Mia to talk about growth and awesome stuff going on in her life. So welcome, Mia. How are you?
Absolutely awesome.
Awesome. Well, speaking of awesome, tell me something awesome.
Awesome. Just recently I had a conversation, just opened up some new brokerage accounts because I've come into some money from my business. And, I do all this stuff myself, but you always have to talk to a consultant about it. And after about a 20-minute conversation, he said, well, you're doing everything just fine. You know about everything. You got T-bills, you got CDs, you got this, you got that, and you're waiting to find out what your tax liability is. You're a financial wizard. If you need anything, please give me a call, but I'm not going to bug you anymore. I said, thank you. But it felt really good. It felt really good to have somebody say, wow, man, you know what's going on. I can't help you at all.
Yeah, so. That is awesome. And especially in that, because if you've been on the receiving end of some of those experiences, as listeners may have, and that's not like the first place they want to go because they're the expert, right?
Yes. Yeah. And it's all, it starts with the platform that you're using. And I've been on several different trading platforms, and it doesn't take very long to figure a different one out. And that always amazes people as well, that you could actually navigate another trading platform that's different from one you've used. But they have similarities, and you can pretty much find your way around. But yeah, it's still feels good. Feels good to kind of know what you're doing.
I love that. So I thought it would be fun to revisit this because we haven't kind of come back to this in a little while. I want to know, what is your current money story?
I'm killing it. It feels so good. Being on the calls and listening to some of the other people on the More Money podcast, I realized how scarcity figured into my life in ways that I didn't realize just by sort of sabotaging myself. You get ahead a certain amount, and it's not like you go back down to zero, but you get comfortable with this ceiling, whatever it is. Zero might be for some people. For me, it wasn't that. And realizing how much that is very much something I do to myself. Because of lessons I've learned throughout my life. And it just feels good to take a few steps and realize it doesn't have to be that way. And I can know exactly what I'm doing. It doesn't mean it's going to come out exactly the way I plan, but I also don't have to sabotage myself anymore. I can have big piles of money in several different areas and not have to sabotage any one of them in any way. And it just feels that I can't tell you how good that feels.
Oh, like I was just about to ask, like that has to feel like a huge weight, I would guess, lifted. Or even just, I don't know, being able to breathe differently. How does it feel to be like, I don't have to do that anymore. I can have all of this.
Yeah, I can have all of this, and it's amazing. It's as you say, with everything that we do in the Enchanted Circle, money is just one of the symptoms. It's one of the pieces of your life that you look at, but it's the whole rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And it's very true with everything else. How I could set myself up to sabotage. Something good happens, and you make sure something bad happens just to knock yourself down a rung or two.
Mm-hmm.
So. And to feel like it's okay, I can fly high, and I don't have to wait for a shoe to drop. I don't have to wait to get shot down. I don't have to wait to sabotage myself. It can just be that way, and it can continue to get better and better. It's absolutely amazing. And when you have that feeling, there's like a foundation that I've never felt before. that's always there. So even when you run into a little headwind,
Mm-hmm.
you just know you're going to be okay and everything's going to be fine. And the other part about that is you just, even I think in people that where scarcity is not their money story that they need
Mm-hmm.
to change, you see it in the Enchanted Circles calls, people, you know, dealing with that sort of thing. Maybe their money story is a little bit different, but when they have that trust muscle, just watching week to week how things get better and better and people get more and more confidence and it just builds on itself, you know. So for me
Absolutely.
for me time is a big thing too. So time can be a big scarcity thing, probably in some ways even more so than money, and just not having to control every single aspect of it, how things
Yeah.
fall into place so
Yeah.
naturally, and more actually gets done than when you're trying to cram stuff into a very tight, got to do this, got to do that, hurry, 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 hurry. And there's no hurry. Boy, it's amazing how things fall into place. And so many aspects of life, definitely, there's a big payback.
Absolutely. I love that. And I want to come back to this time thing. And I just want to remind people, because I love what you just shared about your money story in sabotage, because I think most people think sabotage looks like maybe doing something when it comes to money, like getting some money and then going into debt, or it means like really big things. And the thing is that that's not been your thing. Like for you, when you're saying sabotage, it's not go into a dire situation. It's just keeping it from being even better.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Just putting your own ceiling there,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's ceiling is a little different, I think. But wherever your ceiling is, I think I talked about it way back in the beginning of Manifest 10K when one of the things was clean up your life. You know, clean through things, and I was
Mm-hmm.
cleaning through Office and going through old bank statements, and you know, my personal checking account balance always wavered between $10,000 and $14,000.
Mm-hmm.
Never got higher than that. And it wasn't like I was making big investments or not making investments,
Right.
but that was a ceiling there. You know, and um, even though you know money was going to business, it was going to SEP IRAs, it was going to this, it was going to that. There was a ceiling there, you know, even though money was getting used very well in other places, the ceiling was there. It was a real symptom of, you know, this, everything else is like, it's like work related. It's your business. It's your IRA. It's your this or that. But this
Mm-hmm.
is where you're comfortable, you know.
Yeah.
I needed to bust through that. I really needed to bust through that. I don't keep that much money in my checking account because it's silly to do that, but I'm much more comfortable. Now I have my own brokerage account that has nothing to do with an IRA, nothing to do. It's all just there. And it feels great. It feels great. I don't worry about it. I don't think, oh my God, what am I going to, how am I going to, and I don't wait for a shoe to drop. That's the other thing, because you don't even realize you're sabotaging yourself. You just,
Right.
You set it right up and there it goes. And I just know that's not going to happen. You know, it's just not going to happen. It's not like I'll never run into headwinds again, but that's not going to happen.
I love that. And the first time when you were describing it a few minutes ago, I just pictured like a hang glider, or the one, I don't know if it's hang gliding where you jump off the mountain, but like jumping off and gliding down, and then just like, oh, that was fun. Let me go to a higher one and let me just enjoy the ride. And then I can go to a higher one and even enjoy the ride more, right? Being able to just sort of step into that is where you've come. Like, let me enjoy this higher level and this higher level and this higher level.
Yeah, it's very true. I read a story recently. I'm in a book that I was reading about a very rich person who, you know, multi-billionaire, and, you know, got mad at his wife for doing something like spending money on expensive toilet paper or something. And, you know, him realizing that he could see, she could do that for 1,000 years. And in 10 minutes in the stock market, he could see his balance change by way more than that,
Yeah.
And it really, it kind of clicks, because that's the whole thing. You can't always be looking. You don't want to be losing a lot of money, but part of the thing that has kept me from being fully invested in other things is, well, I don't want to lose anything.
Right.
Well, you know what? There's going to be gains and there's going to be losses. You want to have your gains always be more than your losses. That's the name of the game. It doesn't matter what kind of business or investing you're talking about. If you're not willing to take losses, I mean, it's almost like the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
If I'm a winemaker, I've got to buy grapes, I've got to buy barrels, I've got to buy bottles, I've got to buy corks. That's the cost of doing business right there.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's the same thing. But having that realization was really, really good. And I don't know that I would have been able to make all the connections without having the enchanted circle,
Yeah.
because it opens your awareness and your perception so that all the messages can get through. There's always messages, good messages coming through in your life, all throughout your life, but you don't hear them because you can't hear them because you're not in that space. But I just feel like the space is so good, it's very easy to get the messages. It's just the channels are all open, so to speak.
Yeah, which is huge. And I love that you shared that story, because that is so cool, because it just gives you that real world picture of, oh yeah, you can get mad over here, but this is not that big of a thing, and you can lose over here. But often people get distracted by what we'll just call the toilet paper in this example, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I spent so much on this, or I did so much, and it's really taking that whole picture and seeing it all.
Yeah, and it's realizing also what's a real meaningful transmission for noise versus signal. And I think that's the other thing. It's another way of looking at it. Another point. What is noise and what is signal? And I think that's another way of putting it. What the Enchanted Circle has brought me is I can see what's noise and signal. And, it's important not to call everything noise. Oh, I don't worry about anything. Everything's noise out there. No, what's the signal? What's the signal? Whether it's something that says, hey, you need to do something about this, or, wow, look at what you got. It doesn't matter what the signal is, but it's recognizing the signal and then letting the noise go. Whereas what we kind of want to do a lot is pay attention to the noise and not the signal. So
yes.
I think that's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah. Do any examples of how that's played out in your life pop up?
Well, I have been part of a mentoring program for options trading, because I've been doing it for close to 3 years now. Yeah, it's just about 3 years now. So I've been doing this options trading for about 3 years and been part of a mentoring program. I do a little less mentoring and just a little bit more online, watching what's going on. But, I've come to a point where I feel very confident in the way that I trade the options as opposed to the way that they teach to trade the options. I use a lot of that material. There's so much material to know, but they're stuck down here in a very basic, and I'm up here now. And the noise and the signal, it's realizing that as much as I like my mentor in that program, he's still teaching people at a very basic level. And because of a lot of SEC stuff, a lot of regulatory stuff, he can't say everything that he's doing. If I talk to him, sort of off air, I'm sure it would be cool. But realizing that, a lot of that basic stuff is noise, because it kind of has to be at that level.
Yeah.
And I need to be really confident in what I'm doing, the direction that I'm taking, because it is a more advanced level. So basically anybody who's a part of the mentoring program can watch any student mentor relationship one-on-one, like we're doing now.
Yeah.
And so for me to be doing what I'm doing and say, hey, no, I'm not doing long-term stuff right now because of this. I'm doing short-term stuff, and I'm only taking 5%. I'm in and out and blah, blah, blah. If you don't know what you're doing, you get yourself into trouble very quickly.
Right.
And so they really can't have necessarily other people watching that aren't as advanced. And so I think there's a little bit of pushback. And so realizing that, and that I am okay. My style, because it's working. It's working great, even in this market. I can sleep at night too. I don't have too much on the line. I'm not overdoing it, not underdoing it, and just realizing I am okay in my place. I've kind of gotten. It's not that I, don't want to be a part of that, but I'm good. So that confidence, I also don't think would have necessarily come without the Enchanted Circle.
That's amazing. Because that is so, that confidence to trust, like, no, like somebody might be saying this, but I know this is it, or, and it doesn't matter the reason, right? Because, and I totally believe like we all get to, once we find what works we find our path to what works, and that works. Some things work for some people because it's what they're aligned to. It's what they feel good in. It's what, like you said, like you can sleep at night. Like it's the thing that you're not having to worry about, but you enjoy, and you have sort of this, just, it feels good, like you said. And I think that there's different things about all ways of making money and creating money that feel good to some people and don't feel good to others.
Right. It's so true. So Tracy, my partner, says, she says, I love the difference in how you're trading now, because in the long-term trades, you have to adjust a lot. And so I'd have alerts set, and alerts would be going off all the time. I'd have to go back and, figure out what the adjustment I needed to be made. And she said, your alert would go off and they'd be gone, especially first thing in the morning when the market moved. And she says, now I see you putting on your trades. They're coming off, or you're watching them, but not like just nothing but screen time.
Yeah.
And you're just much more peaceful, and it's much easier. And so when you get the feedback from the outside world, because a lot of times we can't see ourselves when the alerts are going off, and you're just, you can really get kind of high on that, oh God, I need to trust me. It's like, yeah, but look at your P&L and see how everything's going, because everything costs money. And it costs with your time and your so on and so forth. So it's a real natural progression. And again, it's noise versus signal. So you have to, it can be hard to tune out the noise, especially when it comes from the outside, because you want to give some credence to somebody who has experience, but what works.
Yeah, what works. And what I love, what that story just illustrated is, I would say too, like along the path, you've stepped into your future self, who is peaceful and relaxed and going out and enjoying surfing and time with the people that she loves, and so it makes sense that your trading has changed. It's still successful because your future self is successful and has a lot of money and all these things. And you've created the way to do it that's peaceful and not that alert type of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Which is awesome. And just such a fun example of the way, when you are your future self, you find these other ways. You find the ways to be, so that you get everything, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, oh man, if I want this amount of money, I have to be on high alert all the time. No, you get to have peace. Your partner gets to enjoy you, and you get to have the money.
Right. Exactly right. It's very true. And you certainly can't get the how of it, because that's not the way it happens. It opens up and it comes to you. It's only now that I'm realizing the whole part of the story, so it's great.
I love it. And speaking of stories, I want to come back to what you said was awesome. So there's an assignment in Manifest 10K is, we have like some assignments build on each other. And there's a point about 30 to 60 days in where you start to write your new money story by identifying a character and writing about them. And your character was, you named her financial wizard, right?
Yeah, it was a really, really good, actually, and I'll say I didn't realize how good it was when I was first. But when I go back to that, I have like all my stuff just right on my desktop, so I can kind of look at it. When I go back to that and realize how good it was and how meaningful it's been,
Yeah,
it's absolutely amazing. It's so amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And how did it feel when somebody out of the blue said, you're a financial wizard?
Yeah, it felt great because, it was this guy for an investment consultant. He was a pretty cool guy, and easy to talk to. And we kind of got into it. We got into the different trading platforms and, what I'm doing with options and what I'm doing with the cash, because I'm waiting to see what my tax liability is and blah, blah, blah. And so we had a really nice conversation, and he said, "Oh, well, you got it all, man. You're a financial wizard. I'm not going to bug you anymore. Call me if you need anything." And so it was nice not only to be called a financial wizard, but to have this wonderful conversation about investing in everything from T-bills, bonds, stocks, closed-end mutual funds, all the way to options and the kind of options tradings that I do. And he got it because he knows about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then to have him call me a financial wizard, that was awesome. Really awesome.
I love it. I love those pieces of we call it, it's happening when you're like, that you can't make that up, that was my character's name and that just happened, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which is so awesome. And I just want to I want to talk a little bit about time in a second, but for our listeners, I want to connect. We've been talking a lot about story and your original story and how all these things fit together and grow. And Mia's original story was scarcity, then hot mess when there was money, which is exactly that. The hot mess is that sabotage, right? There's never really a problem. It's just that ceiling. And so I just wanted to kind of bring that full circle for anyone listening so that you can see that, if that's your story, that's what you do. You just sort of, you have your own ceiling, or things get really good. And then then you do something to only have $14,000 in your account or whatever the number is. Right. And that is such an interesting number because that has to be a ceiling because it's such an interesting number. Right?
Yeah, definitely. And Cassie, something just happened. Our hot water heater went down, of course, on Sunday. So it's like, no hot water. And so we have the absolute means to get a plumber in on Sunday. And this is a water heater we've had for, about 6 years. It's had one problem already, blah, blah, so it's like, all right, let's just get a new one. But, we were patient. We could deal without a shower on Sunday night. That was okay. Monday, the plumber that put it in, we were patient with them. We did figure out what the problem is. They came, didn't charge us any labor, replaced the part. Everything's fine. $140 and we're done. And, so it would have been easy to, and it wouldn't have been exactly sabotage right now. Because $2,000 or whatever it would have cost to have somebody come in on a Sunday and put a new water heater in, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But to say, well, hey, we're okay. We're going to be okay. Let's see what we can do on Monday. And so it was less than 10% of the cost.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're worried about the cost, but you're not throwing that out there. Yes. The natural thing that happened was to have it come to this resolution rather than this resolution,
Yes.
And so that's the kind of thing that builds and happens too.
Uh-huh. That is such a great example because it is, and it's just mindset and where you're at. And the Mia from 6 months ago might have, let's take care of it on Sunday. Because you're right. Oh, such a good example because it's sneaky. That's justifiable. You need hot water. That's taking care of yourself. It's taking care of your home, your partner, your animals. Right.
Yeah.
And yet it could have that jumping, it doesn't seem like sabotage, but it could have been let me take this account down some money because I'm not comfortable. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, gosh, darn, look at that. Let's get it down. Another
Yeah.
couple thousand. Yeah.
Exactly. So thank you for sharing that example, because it's so good, especially for those who think their story might be like a hot mess, because that's exactly sort of, it's sneaky like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you've realized time and money are connected, and how, just opening up to more time?
Yeah, just it's sort of getting away from it's the same thing with money. There's a point where budgeting and having, how much you have for this, how much you have for that, and so on and so forth is very good. Same thing with time.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're rushing and putting a lot of energy towards rushing, nothing seems to happen very well, and
Right.
I notice it because Tracy's exactly the opposite. So I'm a person who's got to be on time, 10 minutes early, blah, 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 way I was raised. And Tracy, boy, when you start to push out the door, like I'm ready, the keys are jingling in my pocket, ready to go, she will dig her heels in even worse, and just like, ooh, but it's really good. That's perfect for me because it's a great lesson. I can't,
Right.
as soon as I stop pushing, we're always on time because I'm not pushing anymore.
Right.
And just like happened with the water heater, everything falls into place, happens very naturally.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have this pressure on time. And it's like you can fly again. I mean, it's completely like flying because you don't have that pressure on your shoulders,
Yes. That's awesome. And such a great example.
Yeah, so I'm a scientist, and there's such a thing, about viscosity, and ketchup is a good example. Most liquids, you put more pressure on them or more head pressure, they flow faster. Ketchup's exactly opposite. The more you try and get it out, it's a thixotropic fluid.
Yeah.
The more it holds on. It won't do it. That's why it's best just to give it a slight little knock when you ketchup out, the old-fashioned jars and stuff like that, bottles, as opposed to the squeeze thing. But that's exactly what happens in a lot of situations where you try and put pressure on something. It actually makes it even worse. It's like, okay, this is done. We're not moving anywhere now. You gotta be nice about it. And it's a really good example. So you see it in physical chemistry, in the universe. There's stuff that works this way.
Yeah. Oh, that's like the favorite, my heart, as soon as you said scientist, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Because I love the science of it. And I love knowing the things like that, because it is, and time is so like that.
Yeah.
So anyone listening, if you want more time, like let go more, stop like hammering the ketchup bottle.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. Cool. Any final thoughts as we wrap up today's interview?
God, it always feels so good to come and talk to you, on these podcasts. I mean, I enjoy listening to them, but, I'm not one of the best ones for celebrating on Kajabi. And I do on the phone calls, but this just seems like a really super big celebration. And I know there's so many people listening to your podcast, how many people it touches. So that is big part of the celebration. That just feels so awesome, because I can forget how good things are going sometimes.
Yes, I totally get that. And I think that's a great lesson for people listening, is like to remember, like take that time, whether have a scheduled interview or not, like just put it on your calendar to make sure to just take a look at and just stop and remember how good things are going.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And thank you for being here and celebrating with us, because it's so much fun. And I know it paves the way for so many people that are listening and want this bigger money and want the I'm ready to figure out like, how do I raise the ceiling, right? They want that as the thing they're working on and growing through.
Yes.
So awesome. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you, Mia. Thank you everyone for listening, and make sure to check out Mia's next interview.
Thank you for joining us on the More Money Show. To learn how to attract more money into your life, go to your favorite book retailer and order Cassie's book, Manifest $10,000.